Well, on September 11th, 2001, I was the shift commander at the Lincolnshire Riverwoods Fire Protection District in Northern Illinois.
I was not an elected official at the time. I worked for the Milwaukee Ballet.
Well, it was a school day. If I remember right, I think it was a Tuesday. And I was here in this room, actually.
I was in the police academy, so I was at Waukesha County Technical College.
I'll start off as a typical day. I was the assistant principal at Longfellow at that time, and it was your normal day.
I remember that day vividly. I was the head football coach at Concordia University at the time.
So I was a teacher at Wauwatosa West High School, and I was teaching in actually Mr. Guzzi's room, and I was teaching global studies.
And then I went upstairs right around 8 o'clock to have a cup of coffee and read the paper before I went home, and saw everybody huddled around the small TV that was on the counter.
I was getting ready for work and my husband was watching the news and he called me over.
I woke up and turned the TV on, and there was a news bulletin on there about some plane had crashed into the Twin Towers buildings in New York City.
That's when the first plane hit.
And I looked up on the TV and I saw one of the Twin Towers smoking.
And I didn't know immediately that it had happened. And Steve Oliver, who is also a teacher, stopped by my room. And Mr. Oliver and I joke a lot together. And so he knocked on the door and had interrupted the class, and he said, "Hey, did you hear about the plane that flew into the World Trade Center?" And I know it sounds weird, but I thought he was going to tell me a joke. So I'm like, okay, yeah, like, is there a punchline to this? And he's like, no, it flew in to the World Trade Center. You need to watch.
Sophomore in high school at Milwaukee Lutheran High School, so not too far from here. I remember coming up, we have a long hallway in front of the cafeteria that led to sophomore hall, and one of the juniors was running up the stairs and said, "They bombed the Pentagon, they bombed the World Trade Center."
And at first I thought, what movie is this? And then somebody said, it's no movie, it just happened.
Is that real? I mean, it seemed like an action movie. I mean, I thought I was watching Rush Hour or you know, some type of Bruce Willis movie.
No explanation as to what had caused it, and as they were showing that shot, a second plane came into the second tower. Oh, what is this? What's this?
School was canceled early. Everything was starting to get closed down. My mama came and picked me up from school.
So trying to get ready for work, I ended up staying longer as I was hearing more news reports.
And I got to my second hour class, which was geometry with Miss Bowles, and she had the TV pulled to the front of the room. And we were watching that constant replay of the planes flying into the towers.
Then cell phones weren't really common, so our kids went about their day. They really didn't know what was going on. We chose not to tell them throughout the day.
If you look at the videos, there's videos of the firefighters preparing to go up the stairs that day to try and make rescues. And you can see in their faces, they're scared. They know something's not right. They know the building's shaking, the camera's bouncing around. And the reality is, they know that they're in danger, but they're gonna do what they're paid to do. They're gonna go try to save people. And the reality is, even if they knew those buildings were gonna collapse, they still would have tried.
It was like a line of firemen and first responders who walked into that tower, and you see them kind of disappear through the dust, and then a minute later, the entire tower crumples.
But one thing that was real evident right away, it kind of brought us all together. We all became intimately unified as Americans.
And I remember the unbelievable support we got as firefighters during that period, because when people learned that 343 of New York's firefighters had passed away that day, they couldn't believe it. And all of a sudden, we were getting donations of food dropped off at the front door.
I think that one of the most important things for people to remember is how, especially with the way things are in our country right now, where it seems like there are people against each other and groups that don't agree with each other, that we as Americans came together on 9/11? Or
my thoughts on terrorism and how the terrorist acts are occurring now is they always occurred. I mean, terrorism is older than I am, and 9/11 made Americans more cognizant of that.
Well, I think I would ask them to learn about the event, learn why, learn what happened and what impact it had on us as a nation, and then to never forget about it.
I think the symbol of the flag means so much more to me now than it did.